Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
Hello, bonjour.
Oh, nice roll there.
A little bit of an R roll.
Ricky Ricardo over here.
Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Rivas, and who are you, sir?
Producer Matt Dunks on the keys.
Nice.
What's up?
What's up, man? If people want to check out this podcast, listen to it, share it, all that stuff, where are they going to find us?
I mean, nothing has changed. Dunkspodcast.com. We're on iTunes and Stitcher and Player FM. We're on Instagram if you want to see the cool artwork.
Great, yeah. for the art folks. Yeah, you swing over to Instagram.
We don't have a Pinterest or anything, but that's cool. We're getting there.
Yeah.
And we're on YouTube as well. And if you could subscribe and rate, we'd really like it.
Sure.
Moves us up.
And I guess we should tell the folks, when we lose a subscriber, you basically have a hysterical fit and cry.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want me to deal with Matt's rage tears, so please don't unsubscribe.
Yeah, don't do that. You're in for good.
Yeah, no one's ever unsubscribed. Matt never cries, so I'm sorry I started this pod off with some hot lies.
Yeah, geez, well, it's an emotional time. It's
an emotional time, and I think I got some good people in here to process.
We do, yeah, let's get them on.
It's his first time on the pod. Yeah. He's awesome. I did NBA TV Canada with him. He's cool. I've been following him on social media for a while. Huge basketball fan. He's worked for CBC in a variety of capacities. If you're at home, give it up for Kevin Deonarain. I messed it up.
You did. It's okay. It's all right.
I could tell I was messing it up as I was saying it.
It's okay.
Please tell the folks at home how to properly pronounce your last name.
So it's Derick Deonarain.
Wait, what did I say?
You said Kevin.
Oh my God. You know what?
Take two.
Oh my God.
Take two.
I thought his name was Derek too, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm
Kevin.
wrong.
No.
You had a Kevin on your mind
incorrect.
for some reason.
It's funny because right before we started this, we were talking about concussions.
There you go.
So, I mean, I feel like that's a part of where I was
Were you watching
from.
Home Alone before this?
Yeah. Derick Deonarain.
Somebody get Freddie the smelling salts.
Yeah. How you doing, man? Thanks for doing the pod.
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for sticking around after being, massively disrespected off the jump.
Random names.
Okay, let's bring on guest number 2. He's been on the pod a million times. He plays back to the basket very well. I don't know if he can palm a ball, but I hope that he can. Again, I don't know if he's still selling headphones, but if he is, they're good headphones, okay? Mm-hmm. Give it up at home for Ian Gordon.
Oh, man, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm excited. Lots to talk about. I do love that intro. It is good.
That's a great intro.
Imagine, you would have to listen. That's stuff they play in CIA torture.
Yes.
Yeah, just when you go to sleep, that pops
the
back on
lights
again.
on, and then that full blast.
Lights on and a bunch of,
I'll
people,
tell you what you want to know.
Yeah, a bunch of people coming in looking like it. You know what I mean? And you're like, okay, I'm done.
That's too specific. That freaked me out,
man.
Yeah.
Maddie, did you want to...
Yeah, there's something I'd like to say. Before we get into the Raptors segment, as you know, I got all the sound bites and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What some people don't know is that I actually have a sinkhole in our backyard.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Okay, well, you check it out after the pod. It's
sure.
Pretty dangerous.
Okay.
The new owners of the house obviously need to take care of it. There is a river apparently that flows underneath our property. There's a whole reason I'm telling you all this.
It's like a Joni Mitchell song.
I know.
We got to fill up the sinkhole. So we do have some, I have some sound bites that I've been playing over the year that we got to say goodbye to. So
okay, yeah,
I'm ready to throw them in the sinkhole.
Is this like an in memoriam of some of our sound bites?
Essentially, yeah. There's a couple I got to toss in there. So I'm just gonna. Well, let's just throw them in.
Sure.
I'm a fun guy. I'm a fun guy. I'm a fun guy.
Oh wow. This is already too emotional.
Man.
Okay, got another one. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of this.
So good, though.
So good, yeah. I think maybe we should keep some of these.
Sorry,
That's great.
We really can't keep this one either. We'll just throw it in with it too.
I mean, they're not an up-and-coming team. They're here. They're here.
Oh, shit.
We the champs.
This is
really
painful,
sad.
man.
Have to get rid of them.
Champs.
Okay, this is the start of our new era.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you know what? Stinger isn't going to get old. You ready for this?
There's a new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions.
Oh, yeah.
The Raptors, the 2019 NBA champs.
Whoa, Matt's
There we go.
feeling it, everybody.
Don't you forget. Don't you forget.
It's on paper.
Matt just hit that sting and like walked out of his own house and is now living in that sinkhole.
Yeah, he's in the sinkhole.
Listen, that sinkhole is going to be charging you rent.
Yeah.
That
dude.
could be an Airbnb.
Hey, if that sinkhole's
That's not
got a
a
washer
sink-
and a dryer that's
It's not a
17 a month.
sinkhole. It's a basement apartment. There you go. It's
It's a den.
basement den. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some entrepreneurial
$16.50 a month
thoughts going down.
Yep.
to live in the sinkhole next to a possum.
I'm into it.
Yeah, we do
Possums are weird if you see them up close though. Their
they're
faces
gross.
are
Mission
I feel like that's the next wave. Like we've got raccoons, but possums are like the next thing. That
Mission
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks.
hello. Okay.
Take care. Good night.
Let's get to the big news. Matt obviously set it up. Kawhi has left to the Los Angeles Clippers, not the Lakers, not the Knicks, not the Nets, not the Raptors, not any other team. He's gone to the Lakers with Paul George. I guess he was Kaiser Soze all along, kind of moving in the shadows. Talking with Kyrie, apparently. Talking with KD, apparently. You never know how well sourced those things are. But I think I'll start it off by saying that it's important to admit when you're wrong. And I was pretty confident that Kawhi was coming back for a 1-and-1. I thought most rumors about him wanting, to play with other players and having meetings with them, I thought that didn't really go with Kawhi's personality. So I'd rationalized it that, I thought he couldn't leave. I thought he wouldn't leave. I thought even if his eventual goal was to leave, he would run it back. But the NBA is unpredictable. I was wrong. So Derick, let's start with you here. How did you find out about Kawhi leaving?
So actually, I was asleep, so I woke up to that news.
Me too,
So I had stayed up all night, like for several nights,
Yeah.
waiting for the shoe to drop on this to find out the information. Because I mean, as someone who works in media, it's frustrating watching other media people in America, in Canada, but not so much here, feeding you different variations of whatever their truth is. So it's like, I mean, Chris Carter was all right. He was pretty down the line for the most part.
Jalen Rose had us.
Jalen Rose had us. But to their credit, though, I will say this. It wouldn't have surprised me if each team was confident that they had a shot and were feeding information to different reporters at different points in time where they thought they were more likely than the other team, right? And you got to keep in mind that the information that's being sent to these reporters may not be accurate, right? Teams leak stuff on purpose to either hurt another team's chances or to improve theirs.
I feel like especially the big markets,
100%.
they try and talk superstars into existence.
Yeah.
Hayward, AD, we've seen it for a long time.
Exactly. So, after several long nights of staying up, I was like, you know what? It's 1 a.m. I am probably not going to hear any news. I'll probably wake up to something or maybe the next afternoon. And lo and behold, I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and boom, there it is on my phone. The notification from Woj, of course. Who else would it be?
So how can I ask, how quickly did you go back to sleep? Or were you like, oh, I got to sit down on my couch in the dark now and look through Twitter for a bit?
I sat down for probably a half an hour.
Yeah, you had to, right?
Only because
it's also the Paul George thing.
It's also
So
the
you're
Paul
like, wait,
George
what?
thing. Yeah, which for many of us felt like it came out of left field, right? Like you're like Paul George. Like I felt like Soulja Boy on Hot 97. I was like, Paul George.
Yeah,
George.
It was
like,
shocking. Yeah.
How? But you know what I will say is it was something that we all overlooked, right? We you hear about guys like Jimmy Butler and good wing defenders that are brought onto teams, and we completely overlooked the fact that PG did meet with Kawhi. They did have a conversation back in March. We just didn't think anything of it because we're like, well, he's in OKC. He's got
Wait,
rest.
yeah, what was? I don't even remember that.
So they had a conversation. Paul George mentioned that he spoke with Kawhi, but he didn't say what. A reporter asked him, "Can you tell us any of the details about what that conversation is?" And he said, "I can't. It's for you guys to find out."
Yes, I remember that now because I thought it was. Oh yeah, Again, like I was talking myself into this all year, so I thought that was PG being like, honestly, LA's overrated.
Yeah,
I signed with OKC. It's great.
Yeah, and no one's thinking Kawhi's gonna go to OKC. One, because they don't have the cap space, and two, it just like that. I don't know how that dynamic works out with Russ, PG, and Kawhi if that were to be on the table. So we completely overlooked it, and I'm sure OKC fans overlooked it because they thought, man, they're watching this from the sidelines, like, oh, thank God that's not our team. Like, we don't have to worry about anything. We're good. Like, we've got our roster. We're gonna run it back.
They woke up to some stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I felt bad, and then I saw OKC's fans, and I didn't feel so bad after that.
Yeah, Ian, what was your finding out Kawhi had?
Same. I woke up
middle of the night.
No, in the morning. In the morning, I am a deep sleeper.
Nice.
So I was out and I woke up.
You're like, I just wet the bed and
I wet the bed. I was where my rubber undies, so it wasn't that bad. As is standard for bedwetters. So
worldwide.
Yep. BWs, we know. Anyway, so my girlfriend told me, and I was the most surprising thing. Listen, I'm a glass half empty guy. That's how I am.
Okay.
I went bald at 18. So the world has smoted me.
Yeah.
And so when everyone was like, he's going to stay, I'm like, he said he wasn't going to stay before he was even played he bounced the ball once with us.
Right.
I always felt that he wanted to play in LA. The fact that we won was a big indicator of him maybe saying, okay, this is going to be good. But it all came casting down when I was reading Facebook comments and everything. And actually, have you had John Paul on your show before?
No.
He's funny. He's a super funny guy. Anyway, he one of his comments on a post that he had wrote was like, you guys don't get it. Him with the Toronto this and Toronto that. It's breakup sex. And that's when it clicked. I was like, he's right. That's exactly what it is. You think he's going to go to the Skydome and be like, oh yeah, my future home, the concrete piece of shit Skydome. Here we go. I don't want to live on the Pacific Ocean. No, that's stupid. I like winter and concrete. Like, this was breakup sex. This was him showing love and being like, you guys are great to me. I respect it. I love it.
When he went to the Jays game.
Yeah, and it also gives the fans a chance to show him that love, to clap for him. And he can be like, yeah, I'm here. Thank you. And, I did what I had to do. That's just again, that's the glass half empty take, but that's just how I kind of felt.
Yeah, I mean, I always like as the process kind of like went along, and we find out more and more details, I think Toronto was in consideration.
Oh, for sure.
I think that the Lakers and the Raptors were used as leverage. And I think that he was just on another level of planning. Like, he was kind of like, okay, if you want me to stay with the Lakers, here's what I'm interested in.
They needed Paul George and they couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, but the Lakers didn't even know that, though.
You can't blame a guy for wanting to go back home to his family.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no qualms with that. It's a bummer that he didn't stay. And that's bummer is like a light word, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, you can't blame him. And he did what he had to do. And the Paul George thing was a shock, too.
Yeah.
I was really like, that was a crazy like morning of NBA free. The whole thing has been crazy, but that there was insane.
The past month has been wild.
It came out of nowhere for me, the Paul George thing. And if you look at it again, if you take a step back, you're like, yeah, wouldn't you, like, if I was in the NBA and I was from Toronto and I knew a guy who was also really good and a defensive wing, one of the best defenders in the league, I'd be like, and he's from Toronto, I'd be like, well, we should totally team up in Toronto because we know all of our friends are there and all of our families here and they can come and watch us play. Like, when you look at it from their perspective, you're like, okay, this makes sense.
But see, here's my problem with that, though, is that why, if you are OKC, are you doing that deal? Why? Because you have nothing to gain from doing that deal. I mean, yeah, you got like a record amount of picks, which may or may not turn into anything,
right?
If they're conveyed or if they're not, or what the pick swaps are, whatever the case may be. But Paul George has 3 years left on his contract. It's not like he's got one. It's not like when you go to the trade deadline next season, he's going to be some expiring deal that you might be able to move, or he's already, like, prior to us knowing that he wanted a trade demand, he's got multiple years on his deal, on that roster, with that core to play out.
Yeah.
It isn't, you know, like even Anthony Davis, right? Like, he had 2 years. Kyrie had 2 years on his deal. When that trade was made with Boston, LeBron went to management and said, "Why are you trading Kyrie?" He doesn't have a choice. Like, I know Kyrie threatened the whole.
I always say this.
You know, I'll go get knee surgery, and then you know the universe worked the way that it did, and he ended up getting that knee surgery anyways after Boston. But you didn't need to make that deal. You didn't have to. They had time to work with. They didn't have to agree to whatever Paul George's trades demand were. Which leads me to believe that OKC believed and Sam Presti believed that they weren't going to win with that team. Not with Paul George, with Russell Westbrook.
I think that's
not
the
with
answer.
Steven Adams. And so they agreed to do that deal regardless of whatever the trade demand was, because they knew deep down they weren't going to win a championship.
Which is also fascinating to me, like with the, you know, the falling of the giant Golden State, why any team with 2 superstars would assume that they could not win, I find a bit perplexing. I think it also had something to do with the luxury tax, because I had heard rumors earlier that they were going to trade Steven Adams, or looking for a trade partner for Steven Adams, just to save money, because it gets extra punitive, the luxury tax penalty each year.
Yeah.
So I think OKC was headed towards their 3rd year into the luxury tax. So, you know, they also have the Harden trade way back when, which is essentially like a cost-saving move that kind of ignited this whole process of them slowly losing star after star after star.
To Kevin's point, if you're Presti and you think you can't win, then, and if you know that if you don't trade him now, you're going to have a big fish who's disgruntled, and you have another guy, Westbrook, who can not feed off negative energy very well, and that's all a locker room killer. Get rid of him right now. Like, don't let
if you've decided it's a toxic
don't let
situation,
his sour stuff get into your locker room. Move on. If you can't deal any other way, do it now. Take the Band-Aid off, get the players you can get. And they didn't get bad players, but those picks, man, like if they Presti's a pretty crafty GM. So for him getting all those picks, it's not awful, especially if he's thinking, well, there's no way I can win with this team.
Yeah.
Do it.
I mean, it's not awful in the sense that, like, if you are going into rebuild mode, then sure, I want as many young picks as I possibly can, as many young assets as I can possibly attain for whoever I'm trading at all, because at least it's giving me a quicker chance to do a reset. But I don't think Sam Presti is actually that good of a general manager. Like, he kind of lucked into some of these picks.
He's bold.
He's
made some good picks over the years.
He has.
And he also has gotten lucky.
Yes.
Sometimes
which you need both. You need to be good and you need to be lucky.
I thought the Paul George trade and re-signing was pretty impressive.
It was, considering what he was able to move for it, and I give him full credit for that. But how you have a young core of Serge Ibaka, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, even Jeff Green at the time. You have a championship roster. You have a championship roster with good veterans. You went to the NBA Finals. You just ran into a monster in LeBron. And the Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Why break that up just to save a couple $1 million? It would have made more sense. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, and you didn't know that James Harden was going to be what he is. But all the stats said that he was going to be this. So it's like, if you have a good analytics team, a good department on your squad, and you trust their opinions, as a general manager, I think you have to have a little bit of foresight, a little bit of good people on your team to kind of tell you where you're going wrong. And I feel like Sam Presti at every turn, with the exception of the PG trade, has gone wrong.
He's kind of like a bit impatient. Which is like, it's kind of going to bleed into my next question about like when to be patient, when to be impatient. but yeah, the Harden trade will always go down for me, anyways, as a time where you were kind of like too high on your own like supply kind of thing, and you basically underestimated something that was so valuable to the history of your franchise. And I think. I think Harden and Presti, it was only like something like $2 million. It was $2 million. I was going to say it was like $6 million was like the difference between what they wanted. And I'm like, wow.
You could argue that team never would have got it done anyway, though, with those three guys. Because maybe James wouldn't have blossomed if he was on that team, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's true.
And you could tell by the end of it that Russell and Durant already didn't really like playing with one another. When you lose 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors at the end, and that's how it all ends, you should never lose. Like, that shouldn't happen, especially with those two guys playing that way. It comes down to chemistry. I don't know. It's weird. Basketball's insane like that.
If you're a small market, though, and you're trying to grow, you really have to be prepared to pay your guys. Yeah. I'm looking at that Brogdon-Milwaukee scenario this summer, and I'm like, they better hope that they don't take too much of a hit replacing Brogdon with George Hill.
Well, they will take a hit there. I like Indiana, too.
Like, when Giannis is up, you don't want him referencing, like, I remember that time you saved money when we could have won a championship. Like, that's pretty great that you saved some money. But anyways, I'm leaving. You don't want to set any of those things up in the wrong way. And I think the Harden thing, that also, I think, was a part of them losing Durant.
They were, but when that happened, it was kind of all written in the stars. And then you lose like that to Golden State. You never thought he was going to go to Golden State, but you can read it on these guys. Him and Russ at the end, they were just not. They didn't work well. They were a bit of oil and water at the end of it. Yeah, seemingly, it's such a shame because they're amazing players, but like you wonder if they could have ever gotten it done.
Well, and that's the thing with Russ, right? Like people. Love Russ.
They love him.
Russ as the guy.
People hate him
Russ,
too,
people hate him for sure.
Kevin Durant probably hates him when he's taking 40-foot three-pointers
and that's,
with nobody under the basket.
And that's the thing, right? People love Russ. They love his energy. They love what he brings to the game. They love his passion and his competitive drive, but they don't love him as a player. You love the traits that he brings. Yeah. You don't necessarily love his skill set. You don't necessarily love his leadership or lack thereof.
Decision making is poor when it counts.
But ask anybody in the league and they'll tell you that's my guy.
Totally.
I rep Russ all the day, every day. Like Jalen Rose tweeted that he didn't want to hear any slander about Russell Westbrook, and Paul George retweeted it and was like, we're not trying to hear any of that. Same thing with KD.
Fair.
Which is fair. But it's like, then why did you choose Kawhi over him?
Totally. Why did you do that to Russ? Because that's a pretty deadly blow to Russ. And we'll get to that kind of like
business.
Yeah, we'll get to that maneuvering stuff too, because I think a big kind of like subplot of this whole thing was, to me, it's pretty clear that Kawhi, as much as he's trying to ensure a long-term good scenario for himself, was ensuring the worst type of scenario for LeBron. I think I'm not saying they hate each other or whatever. I think it was just competitive. I think he was like, you represent one of my biggest threats, period. And I'm going to make sure that you are not in a great situation.
Well, because in particular, he knew he was going to have to pick one of the other LA teams. He's going to want his in-city counterpart to not be good.
Exactly.
But the Lakers actually, they did all right.
I think they did too, actually. But okay, so let me just say, my Kawhi experience, Matt, I want to hear yours, is very similar to both of yours. It's kind of like a combo. So I woke up at 7 a.m. And my wife, Caleb, was up already, and she was like kind of like sitting up in bed. And as soon as she could tell I was like a fraction kind of like waking up, she just goes like, oh, no. And then, but it was the type of oh no where I'm like, what happened? Like,
something bad happened. Did someone die?
It was the type of oh no where I'm like, A, she's not joking. B, she's upset. C, is going to tell me something real right now. And then she's like, Kawhi's going to the Clippers.
That's shocking.
And then I literally just like put my head back down on my pillow and like looked up at the ceiling. So I really did do this. And her, like, the next thing she said was, Freddie, are you okay? And I responded, yeah, I'm actually pretty good. And I feel like I've been riding that ever since. Like I don't know. I'm just so pro player power that there's no ounce of me that is upset with Kawhi.
Oh, no.
I think it's pretty obvious to say I would have preferred him to stay. I'm also so confident in Masai, and I'm so happy with the champions that are on our team.
The guys we picked up too.
Yeah, and we're that's right where we're headed, actually. So I think for me, there's just so much positivity with all of this that the blow of Kawhi leaving is not as devastating.
It helps that we're the NBA champions. It's like if you drop a cake on the floor and you're like, shit, and you turn around and you have another cake. You're like, well, I'll just eat the other cake.
I love your like juggling cakes analogies.
Well, I had 2 cakes, now I only have 1 cake. That's still pretty good.
That's a good analogy, though.
Matt, what's your do you have a Kawhi moment?
Yeah, I do. I have a Kawhi moment. Like before I talk about finding out, I'll just say that the entire year with Kawhi and the team, watching him, and I know it's a bit of his personality, but it felt like when I was in grade 8 and when I was on the Quebec trip. If you're from Ontario, the Quebec trip is in grade 8. And my girlfriend was going to dump me on this Quebec trip. And I could just tell like the whole week she's acting weird, couldn't really make good eye contact. And stuff
do we
like
live
this.
the same lives? Because that happened to me.
Did you get dumped on the Quebec trip?
On the Quebec trip,
my God.
grade 8. I'll never forget that.
Oh my God, this is great. Yeah, I got dumped at the Sugar Shack. And
I got dumped at the hotel.
Oh my God.
No, mine was a very public thing. It was very weird. But that's, for Kawhi, it felt like that all year. It just felt like he was ready to break up with this from day one. For me finding out, like I was heavy on Twitter and then I finally went to sleep and I can't believe it broke at 4 a.m. I was like, oh my God. Just kind of, I don't know. It makes you know what? We did just win a championship and I don't want to fall back in that old Toronto sport mentality of like, oh, that's what it's like in Toronto. Like we never,
I keep saying, I feel like this media battle, this whole search, it's been like American exceptionalism versus Canadian like inferiority complex, and they both lost.
This whole that's what it's like in Toronto thing for me is really put to rest, at least for a little bit.
Yeah,
because if that's what it's like in Toronto, that shot bounces 1, 2, 3, 4 times out of the net.
Exactly.
That's not what it's like in Toronto for that shot to go in. That's what it's like in Toronto is dead. That's dead till at least 2021. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, when
1 year.
Yeah, I know. When that shot went down, like I remember tweeting, this feels like destiny. Like the way that game was lining up, the team that we were playing,
Remarkable
the situation that we were in, the fact that it came down to the last shot off of a fall away jumper in the corner, driving right, like it felt like everything that Vince couldn't do, Kawhi did.
Yeah, it was a corner shot too, and now it's going to happen next year.
They played the shots back or side by side too, and you're like, oh my God.
Which is why I was like, all we need to do is run it back and have a Lakers Raptors final, and we beat LeBron and we exercise all of our demons.
Yep.
But unfortunately, it didn't work that way.
Same thing's going to happen, but instead of Kawhi shooting that, it's going to be Patrick McCaw.
Oh yeah, baby.
3-time champ. Yeah. Three-peat McCaw.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with you on this one. So, Masai's next press conference, right? It's coming up. I don't know when, but he's got to kind of like field the mood. I don't think he's coming in and saying, we're going to do a culture reset, or I think Kawhi's going to like it here. I think there's a new message of some sort.
Yes.
What do you not want that message to be, but like, what do you think the plan is right now? What do you think Masai, like, what is he going to put out into the world?
I think he'll be really like, intelligently stoic. He's going to actually, he'll thank everyone. He'll do a great speech thanking Kawhi, thanking Danny, everybody.
Right. And when he starts to drop hints, is he going to be like?
Well, I think he'll spend a lot of time looking at what next season will be. I think he'll spend a lot of time emboldening his championship roster that he still has,
right,
and instilling confidence in the fact that to the media, to himself, to the team, that to the coaching staff, that they're the champions. They still have that attitude. They have a really great young team. We've got cap space coming up for ourselves. If you look at that, now that Lowry's a champion, if you look at that 3-year, $33 million, doesn't look so bad, especially this offseason, how the contracts went. So he's done a good job. He's obviously, he deserves to feel good about everything, and so does the city, and so does the team. But I think that he will be like, he wants to win, this guy. So he's going to focus on instilling confidence in his roster, because that's what they need. They need people all around them to say, no, you lost Kawhi, you lost Danny, but you have, everybody here is an NBA champion. We just signed 3, good defensive players. The Eastern Conference in particular didn't, there's nobody in the Eastern Conference that took a leap and bound. He won't say that, but I think that he will instill that confidence. That's really what I think.
Right. So it's kind of like a patience reminder, a calm reminder, and a keep your chin up reminder.
Oh yeah, keep your chin. This is not, and again, this is a league that this happens in.
So, wait, I'm going to jump to you on this one, Derick. But do you think do you agree with Ian? Do you think he's trying to instill calm, Masai, or is there going to be some I am disappointed stuff?
I think the initial reaction is, of course, that he's disappointed because, we were all kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
Right?
It's right to be disappointed.
It makes sense. It's logical. It's rational. It's the natural step to go towards, right? You put everything, literally everything, into making this work.
Yes.
He is on the hot seat. He asked to be on the hot seat. He said this is what he lived for. He lived for the off seasons when he could actually make changes and make fixes, because that's when he could actually control things.
Yeah.
He can't play on the court. He can't make those shots go in, but he can manage the team. He can get the right guys in. He can bring the right coaching in. And that's what he did. He did all of that. He did everything right.
Yeah.
And we won. And so to lose, a key component of that team sucks. And also Danny Green too. That sucks too, because he deserves some credit as well. But I think more so than calm, which I think he kind of already does. Mm-hmm. It's more
I guess he's kind of naturally calm and charming.
Yeah,
but
I would say it's confidence. I was at the media conference with Masai for his exit interview. And
is that the one that was just under an hour?
Yeah, that he brought the trophy out. And,
right.
And,
it was cool.
It was just amazing to
all the
see.
Global stuff, all the African stuff.
Yeah.
I was so man, we do have this potential.
Well, and no, go ahead. That's a great point. Well, and that's leading to one of the points I want to make. But I think that confidence for a guy to, we talk about the Toronto inferiority complex. Mm-hmm. He is someone who never believed that.
No.
He's not even from here.
He laughs that off, which is great.
He does not believe that in any shape or form or any fiber of his being at all. And to have someone who is so unwavering in their love for this city, in their love for this country, in their love for this fan base and team, to say, you know what? We will win here. And then actually have it happen.
I know.
In that year.
I still remember his first time. It's I want to win in Toronto. How many times has he said that? And you all kind of believe it, or you believe that he believes it.
Yeah, you believe that he believes it, but you don't believe it yourself,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And I'm sure there were tons of fans on this run where we were like, oh man, we're down 2-0. Oh, we're down 2-1. This is it. In true Toronto fashion, maybe we'll make a run. Maybe we'll make it to a game 7 and then we'll choke. And we'll lose in game 7 or we'll lose in this. And, because that's just the way that it goes for us. And I think it's confidence, right? And just to add to your point about what I think he'll say at his next conference. I think someone on the Raptors subreddit hit it right on the head. I can't remember who posted it. It was probably the other day. And I know that there's some little beef between the Raptors subreddit and the Real GM guys.
Ooh, okay, I like it.
But shout out to both of those forums.
Shout out to chat room beefs.
Yeah. The sentiment was, thank you, Kawhi, but also you're welcome.
Right. Yes. I read
which I think is extremely accurate, and it is something that I think Masai would say, because one, he's not the type of guy to hold back. I think he's very obviously pointed in the things that he says and plays all of his cards very close to his chest. But I think he's also very direct in the sense that, if he feels something, he'll say it.
Yeah.
If he feels like, we took a chance on him, when other teams on the league didn't want to offer the packages that we were offering, didn't want to give up their guy,
That's
to
a
get
good.
Kawhi.
That's a good way to say it too.
You know,
like we went and got the guy.
Yeah,
So
like we had faith in you, even when you were unhealthy.
Yeah.
We had faith in you, in your skills, in your talent, in your potential, and what this could be. And I think,
and we put you in a position to win.
Yeah, and more so than that, we got you healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Like never. Like the one thing that like I think people often tend to overlook in this situation is health. Right? Like if you don't have your health in this league, you can't be anything.
Yeah.
Ask Derrick Rose what he's doing.
Yeah.
Ask Jabari Parker what he's up to. Right? All
He
those,
actually just signed a 2-year contract.
Yeah, I know. He
with
just
the
signed.
Hawks. I was pretty happy for him.
Which is I'm happy
Yeah.
for him, but he's not what we thought he could be.
No, oh
when
my
he was
God.
coming into the league,
It was him or
everyone
Wiggins.
was like, "It's him or Wiggins," because Embiid has the
quickest
injuries.
Grant Hill comparison.
Exactly, right? Well, now he is, but coming in, people thought he was going to be Carmelo,
Yeah, he was amazing.
but a
He
better
was
Carmelo.
amazing in college.
You know, and now look. So I think for us to take a chance on somebody who people looked at as damaged goods, right? His reputation took a hit.
Yeah.
This could have easily gone the Isaiah Thomas way,
Right.
but it didn't. And so I think you're welcome, Kawhi. Thank you for everything. We do not take it for granted. You do not owe us anything, but also just remember that like we helped to make this happen as well.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because like I don't even have it as a question here because I think it's such a like garbage narrative, but this like Kawhi carried us to a championship thing really bothers me.
Well, it's a team game, man.
Well, because it's like he obviously was a superstar. He obviously was the best player in the playoffs. He obviously was our best player. He obviously struggled less than any other player on the
Just
team.
something Skip Bayless would say.
But pretending
it's
FVV didn't shut down Steph, pretending Pascal didn't score the winning bucket to win a championship and drop 30 in game one and 26 in the closing game, and that Kawhi could barely run around in the
Lowry
finals.
had 37 there.
So yeah, that to me is a total discounting of even Danny Green and Marc Gasol and Ibaka and Norm and the 8
definitely.
people who are key ingredients here. Yes, Kawhi was the biggest ingredient, and I think
He's the best player on the team.
He brought us over the hump for sure.
No one would argue that, but I really don't like the idea of like he brought like he LeBron James did, because he didn't.
If you say that
Like-
and you believe it, like it's just not true. You just didn't watch.
Wait, so okay. Just before we move on, I want to hit you guys both with this. Ian, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to you first. Do you think Masai goes as far as shutting down rumors about us trading our expiring champions? So like Ibaka, huge contract, but 1 year obviously.
Yeah, I think he will.
Lowry, do you think Masai is gonna, even if he's like, what if if it's really bad around the trade deadline, I will trade.
The thing is, Masai is not. He doesn't. Sorry, go ahead.
Just out of respect and to give these guys their due, and to kind of basically to the chin up idea.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think he's going to be like, hey, all options are on the table?
No, I don't think he will say that. I mean, he would maybe believe it, but he doesn't need to say that. The Raptors are not in a position where we lost Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, but we're still, in my opinion, a top 4 seed in the East because we have championship swagger. Pascal Siakam is great. OG is great. Fred's great. Kyle's great. We have a good team, and the East didn't get that much stronger. I think, again, he needs to embolden confidence. And I also think he's not a guy that, obviously you dwell on the past and good things, championships, but he's a very much what's the next rung in the ladder guy.
Yeah.
Let's go. So I think he'll address some of that stuff maybe initially, the Kawhi stuff, but he's not gonna. He'll deflect a lot of those questions because he's not. Why would I answer a question about Kawhi and what he's doing if he's not on my team anymore? I have a locker room full of guys who are all champions who I should be focused on.
And I think Masai has also proven he doesn't really operate from a place of weakness.
No.
So I don't think he's going to be like, oh, what am I going to do? I think he's like, yeah, we're making a plan. I'm going to evaluate all these players.
He also knows that the media is going to be chomping for those questions.
Yes.
Those are, what do you think about Kawhi? What do you think about Kawhi? He knows that's coming.
The amount
and
of trade
push it
Lowry
aside.
stuff I've already seen is like, from Canadian kind of like publications has surprised me a bit, because I definitely expect it from the like American pundits. I feel like they're in their mind, it's like Kawhi won this championship by himself. Then he left, and every single person who has any value whatsoever is going to be traded from Toronto.
I think having
fast as
Lowry
possible.
there is still great for the team, and and Fred is a similar player in terms of characteristics. They're both gritty. They're both selfless. They both want to win. And for Fred to come off the bench and or start, depending on what Nick does, like that's good for Fred VanVleet. And if Fred VanVleet can be our starting point guard at the age of 26, 27, that's great. So there's no rush for him. Just because we have a good backup point guard doesn't mean you get rid of your championship starting point guard who's getting paid $33 million a year. How many more years does he have? Is this his last year on the deal? Let him play out. What, and then if he signs somewhere else, he signs somewhere else. Why would you don't need to trade him. What you're going to get for him isn't going to be worth, unless you get something that's really good. It's just not worth it.
That's kind of where I'm at. Are you there as well, Derek?
Yeah. I mean,
or are you like be opportunistic?
I'm of both minds, right? Like I think, I'm totally okay if we, play out the year and run it back even without Kawhi and without Danny and see how things go, right? Are we going to be a number one seed? Probably not. Do I like our chances in the playoffs though? Yeah. As currently constructed with this team, I mean,
we have good playoff players.
We have good playoff players. We've got good veterans. We've got good young guys coming in, and with all the signings that they've made, one of those guys is going to stick.
Okay, let's
we match up well with the teams in the East.
Unless you guys have anything else,
sorry. I was going to talk about signings. So before we go to the signings, I will say this. I think just to get back to my point about being of two minds in this situation,
right?
Yes, there is an opportunity here in the sense that Masai is a very shrewd operator. It would not surprise me at all if he doesn't say anything and then all of a sudden, like, all of a sudden
we have Brad Beal.
I wish. No, and then January 1st comes and he's like, you know what? I've evaluated enough of this team. It doesn't make sense to keep this roster the way that it is. We're not going to compete for a championship, right? Like I think that would, no one would blame him if that was the case. If you run up to January or to like mid-January and you see that we're like barely above 500 and it isn't because we've had a tough schedule or whatever the case may be, but simply just because like, the guys are another year older, the veterans aren't what they were, and they aren't giving it as, I don't want to say giving it their all, but they're not approaching the game or this season with as much vigor as they would if they were on a contending team, right? Which is, Marc Gasol in Memphis. Then, make the moves. It's okay. It's okay if those guys say, you know what, we had a great run here, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me and this fan base, but I think I also still want to compete for another shot at a championship or a couple more shots at it, right? Like Serge saying, boss man, we could run it back 2 more times. I think we could get 2 more. Like that to me makes it sound like he still wants to go after championships, right? Like maybe Mark not so much because of how old he is. Like that's why he opted in, because no one's going to give him that money.
Right.
But, same thing with Kyle. Like you could send him home to Philly. It would work, right? You could send him to Miami. It would work. Right, it's. I mean, that's a friendlier deal than any Westbrook deal that would go in Miami, anyways. Totally. Right, and he's friends with Jimmy, so it works. Like there are opportunities to make moves if you need to get young, if you need to get picks, if you need to get assets. But the smart thing that Masai did was he had 2 teams on one. Right, he had a team,
young development team,
ready to rebuild, and a team that was also ready to compete. So flipping it either way, from a contending team in the playoffs to a team that has to rebuild, we're fine.
Yeah.
We're okay. Like, I would much rather be in our shoes than the Phoenix Suns.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Like I would.
That's because you're like a hardcore long-term Raptors fan.
No, well,
it's the newest fans who are like, blow it up.
Yeah,
it's
like I used to get excited to like pop my bedsuit. Like
it could be so much worse. You don't even get it.
You have to look at your competition as well. Who are you playing against?
Yeah, we're in the East.
Who are you going to potentially face up in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at it again, being a pragmatic individual, he will make changes if he sees fit. But again, if you look at our competition in the East, we're okay.
Yeah,
we're okay.
The East to me got worse, right? Like obviously Kawhi left, but even still, like Kyrie
Russell also left.
Yeah, well,
Kevin Durant's not playing this year. Put it that way.
KD's not playing.
If KD was playing, then it would be a different story.
Kyrie has shown that he cannot lead a team, right?
Yeah.
And even when he does, they play better with him off the court, which is crazy because he's such a phenomenal player.
I think he's just the type of player, in my opinion. I've always feel like
He'll play better in
Kyrie's
Brooklyn.
a pretend superstar. He's a star that isn't a superstar.
No, I still think he's a superstar. I wouldn't discredit him.
But he can't play D, and he's not a good passer. Like that's my thing with him is that or I guess he did
I think he played
some okay D with the
I think he
Celtics.
is a superstar. He's just not a great leader, right? And and there's a distinction between that. Like I think Kemba Walker is not nearly as talented as Kyrie Irving is. However, I think he's a better leader.
Right, and he's better probably like point guard.
Yes.
About like getting guys involved and that sort of thing.
Exactly. But Boston's not really going to do anything. Like Hayward's going to be a year better, and healthier, which is going to be good for them. We don't know what Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to bring.
Jaylen
I think
Brown and Tatum.
I always bash Boston, but I actually think they're in a situation that's good long term for developing Brown and Tatum.
Bro, they got Taco Fall. What's up?
Yeah, no, but the thing
He
is,
can stand the dunk.
if you're starting Enes Kanter, you're topping out at 500. Like you know what I mean? Like you can't start Enes Kanter and be like a winning team. I think that's you're in a tough spot.
Yeah,
their bigs are Hayward and Kanter.
Yeah, they're
terrible.
Yeah, and
I love
Philly,
Kemba, though.
Philly to me, I think didn't get better. Like you lose your scoring, which was already kind of an issue. You lose Butler, you lose Redick, you replace that with Horford. Like, are we assuming that Ben Simmons is going to miraculously get a jump shot in 3 or 4 months?
See, I actually love Philly because I think
they're going to be great defensively.
Redick's like you now don't have to put that bad defender out there, and I think too much was made of like, I mean, this is a weird reference, but Bill Simmons kind of like went at in his big book of basketball thing, the legend of Reggie Miller and how much work it takes to set all those screens constantly for someone and how taxing and inefficient it actually is.
Unless you're Golden State.
Unless you're Golden State and you have like
Steph, the greatest shooter of all time,
Clay.
and like the second greatest shooter of all time.
Because it's not all work for one guy.
Yeah.
Whereas like that's not really how Richardson rolls.
Yeah.
And I also, I'll cop to it. I'm like I've always been such a like Al Horford guy. I just think he does things that equate to winning.
No, he's
time.
a solid player. Like to me, he's a more athletic Marc Gasol, but a little bit shorter.
Yeah,
like not as great of a passer.
No, yeah,
but
he's like Millsap, Horford, Gasol.
Like he's of that ilk, right?
Yes.
Like he has that quality to his game, and you could see it even back when he was, in Florida with the Gators playing with Joakim Noah and those guys. Like he had
at
that.
the playoffs though. The playoffs.
Oh yeah,
your best player in the playoffs is Jimmy, just because he is the guy who's going to take that shot for you. Your two stars are still young; they still wilt, and they're still both under 25. Both those guys are probably 23, 24. I don't think they're 24 even.
No.
So your two best players are still young; that they will probably wilt in the playoffs, depending on who they have to play.
Well, Embiid doesn't have to play Horford anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I still think that we'll beat them up. And, weirdly enough, like we can run crazy matchups at that team in the playoffs too. And Nurse showed how free flowing he can be. Like
Nurse is going to be even more free flowing.
OG's
this
a big
year.
boy, man. OG could probably guard Al Horford.
Okay, wait. Sorry.
I'll say it.
No, let's dive into these signings before we go out back out to the league. So
the sinkhole.
Before we get lost in the sinkhole. So I'm not going to do it in any particular order, and let's not talk. So Pat McCaw just got re-signed, but let's do like new players.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
And the Pat McCaw deal's pretty good, by the way. It's $8 million for 2 years, so nice and cheap.
Yeah.
All these deals are pretty cheap. They're like Biombo style, make good deals. But Derek, let's start with you on. I'll say the guys, and you can go wherever you want. Cool. There's the draft pick Thomas, and there's also like Duan Hernandez, which is like if you don't have a strong opinion on either of those guys, that's okay.
So I will say
cool.
Okay, so I think the Matt Thomas sign is actually a good signing.
The video clip doesn't miss.
Yeah, I don't know enough about his game other than what I've seen on YouTube highlights, which is what most of us have seen of him. But I think he is Jody Meeks. Basically, he's a Jody Meeks replacement. He's not a Danny Green replacement. I don't think he's nearly as good defensively, not as tall, not as long. But if you need a guy who's just microwave offense, like instantly come off the bench, give me like 6 points, 7 points, like in a time where we're in a rut, that guy will be solid. He kind of, and this guy's a better player, but Joe Harris is somebody that he reminds me of.
And Thomas is like, he's in the 6'5", 6'6" range, right?
Yeah, and so is Joe Harris. Joe Harris might be a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, but he was a guy like that. Right. Just a 3-point specialist, lights out. You give him any space, and it is money. And I think that is a good signing, a great value add for a championship team if you're contending. Not that we go for a championship, but for a playoff team, or for a team that's rebuilding, because he'll get valuable minutes either way.
Right.
Not a ton, but he'll get some. And Hernandez, I don't know. Not because I don't.
I just watched the summer league.
Yeah,
games
it's tough because he looks very raw. Anybody who's getting picked that far back in the draft, even if he was healthy, even if he wasn't redshirted, still probably wouldn't have gone that much higher than where he was. Maybe he'd be at the top of the second round instead of the bottom. But still, I don't know if he develops into anything that'll give you meaningful minutes. Like 2 minutes a game, 3 minutes a game in garbage time in NBA games. Sure. I think he needs a lot more time to develop, and I think I'm glad that we have the G League team so that he can, because I think that's where he'll be able to kind of hone his skills more. So,
it's such a good pipeline. It was so nice to see that picture of Fred and Siakam at Summer League. It's like, man, these two guys won like a G League title together.
With Nick Nurse, by the way.
With Nick Nurse, an NBA title together. Fred got, a Hubie Brown vote for Finals MVP, which is not nothing. And Siakam got most improved. So it's like those guys, like, what a unit they have.
It's nothing to scoff at. And the fact that we have a team like the 905 that we can have develop these players. Like, they could play 2-a-days if they wanted. They could play in a 905 game and then come downtown and play in the actual game.
We've done it with like Miller and Boucher.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, those guys are going to get valuable reps. And I think especially for like Chris Boucher, Jordan Lloyd, like those guys, like they got some solid experience being around this team in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if they didn't really see a ton of minutes, like that is valuable to a young guy that's 21, 22. Like, maybe they're not ready for what they'll be 3-4 years from now, but you can't buy that experience.
What about Stanley Johnson and Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
So this is, to me, can I curse in this?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. Not to say that they're shit at all.
Well, Hollis Jefferson's like all right.
I actually like. I really like Rondé Hollis Jefferson. I when he was initially in the draft, I wanted us to draft him.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was like, it's clear that Masai has a type that he wants to lean towards, right? When he failed to get Giannis and he couldn't buy into that draft to get Giannis, which is what he really wanted, he ended up getting Bruno instead. And ever since then, all he's tried to do is get long, athletic wing defenders who are big enough to probably play center in a small ball league, but are athletic enough to play on the wing, handle the ball, and shoot. And he's gotten a version of that in Pascal. But there were always talks of like a Thaddeus Young. Like, so all these guys, Stanley Johnson, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, those guys are long, athletic wing guys who play hard on defense. Their offensive skills will come. And that's the thing with all these signings, with the exception of Thomas, is that these guys are all defenders. They're all
we
workhorses.
also signed a guard.
Yes.
Terrence Davis.
Yeah, Terrence Davis. I really like that.
And he's
kid.
got a bit of Fred going on.
Yeah, he's very like bet on yourself, Fred VanVleet.
Yeah,
because
he looks good.
I saw a quote the other night on Twitter where someone said, oh, well, you didn't get drafted or whatever the case may be, and they're like, are you going to sign like a 2-way deal? And he's like, I'm too good to sign a 2-way deal.
Oh, I love it.
And then in his first game, drops 20 points and signs a deal with the Raptors.
That's
like
cool.
A legitimate deal. Like, that guy, to me, you have to have balls to say something like that. And you haven't proven anything, and you just went undrafted.
I love it.
And you have the nerve to say that, but then actually back it up with your play and earn that deal. So, credit to him. I actually like his attitude, and I think he might be a diamond in the rough down the road. But I mean, again, we're talking about prospects, guys.
Imagine it comes out he's also from like Rockford, Illinois.
Oh my God, that'd be insane. That'd be insane. But yeah, I like what we're doing. We're just trying to get younger. We're trying to get athletic defenders, because at the end of the day, as cliche as it sounds, defense wins championships, right? When we beat Golden State, not because of how offensively gifted we were, but because of our defense.
Totally.
Same thing with Philly. Same thing with, like, it was defense. So
yeah, 100%. Ian, where are you at on the Raptors' new acquisitions?
It was a very similar thought process to Kevin, but what I was
You're like, Kevin,
I'm just now.
said it all.
My name is now Kevin. This is like the second time.
That's on me.
Everyone's gonna know me as Kevin now. My name's not Kevin.
Listen, it's
Kevin
Derek.
Kevin had some insights there, but honestly, really,
Please call me Frank for the rest of my life.
Frank
or Eddie.
Vogel.
Yeah,
I think
Frankie Muniz.
if I was to look at Masai's thinking and I had to look at our picks, what it tells me is that I think he thinks that what he can get. I think he thinks we can score enough points. I think that he says to himself, I might have lost Kawhi Leonard, and he can score 27 a game, 28 a game, but my offense can get it in other ways. Maybe he expects Fred VanVleet to score more points. Maybe he expects...
I think Gasol will score more.
Yeah.
And
so,
OG.
So I think if you were to look at our offense, he thinks to himself, well, I can score enough points to defeat most of the players or most of the teams in the Eastern Conference. What can I get that will benefit my team? Well, let's take a flyer on these two guys who seem to be really good defenders. Hollis Jefferson, who has what does he got? Like a 7'2" wingspan or something. Like, again, a flyer on a potential lockdown wing defender. You've got Stanley Johnson, who is not going to come in and shoot threes and score points for us, but he'll
lock up Kawhi in the fourth quarter.
Well, listen, situationally, if you look at, you can send him out there for certain assignments in the playoffs for one game for 15 minutes when this guy's hot. Okay, Stanley, go in and shut down Jaylen Brown. You know what I mean? Beat the shit out of him. You can do that with him, and he's the type of guy who will love to do that. He would gladly do it. This is not him going, fuck, okay, I got to grind on D. You know, you need guys like that for 20 minutes for one game. And it's a good enough pickup for and he's a veteran. It's fine. And then this guy, what's his name from Old Miss, who you just mentioned, Davis is his name?
Terrence Davis.
Yeah, man, that is same kind of thing. If he's got that attitude in summer league, he's the type of guy who I would want to have on my basketball team. And a Raptors fan, I'm excited to have him. I also like guys who go to college for all 4 years. It means that they really do have something to prove. They're ready for the NBA. They're salivating. They didn't get a chance to get drafted. You think guys don't want to get drafted after 1 year? Of course they do. Sure. And if some guys go back, right? I get it. But in particular, if you're that type of guy, he's probably been wanting to play in the NBA since he thought he could realistically get there. So for him to actually be on a team now, he's going to come off the bench and he's going to play like a madman. So if he can, again, this is all about Nick Nurse kind of finding places for these guys to play on certain teams, and I think that our identity is one of defense, and we won the championship on that, and people forget that because Kawhi is so exciting and he makes crazy plays, that we had one of the best defenses in the league. And I think that he, as Masai, is thinking, okay, well, I lost my stud offensive scorer. I'll get points elsewhere, and I'll try to get the defensive part of my team even stronger.
Right. Yeah. So the whole Kawhi so offense is a little bit easier to remove when he's straight up not there. Yeah.
He's got to think that he can get the points because he didn't look for any scores in what he was looking at. He made small signings, of course, but he didn't look at anybody who's going to get buckets for you.
Well, he brought Bargnani back.
Yeah. Andrea's back. He weighs 360 pounds.
A lot of starch in that pasta.
Okay, let's. If there's any other Raptors things, hit me with it. If not, let's.
I'm just happy, man. I'm happy we're fortunate to have won. I feel great.
I'm feeling great. It's gonna be a fun season.
I'm grateful. I'm thankful.
Great that we beat the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
And last year I said the Lakers didn't have anything to fear, so I was wrong. I've still, that stings me sometimes. I wake up sweating thinking about it. Even though I wanted to say that they did because they're in the West. Yeah. But I did call the Golden State Warriors not winning the championship.
Oh, and let me say this to add to that. There is no, I repeat, no asterisk next to our championship.
No way.
Like there is
Can
none.
someone engrave that
there is
somewhere?
none.
I haven't heard anybody say that.
Really?
Maybe not here, but
in the U.S., it's like, they didn't win because they're the only ones.
Yeah.
This
Well, look,
Kawhi won it. It's like it doesn't matter. We're
you
champions.
can only play the team that's in front of you. You cannot fault the Raptors on any of that at all. They just played who they had.
And we particularly had a hard and legendary road.
Yeah.
If you really want to go that far.
Yeah, and don't tell me that most people picked Milwaukee to beat us.
Yep.
Well, the other
Most
thing
people
too is
had
Philly.
Yeah.
they won a championship without Kevin Durant.
Yes.
So we were still playing an NBA championship caliber team.
Absolutely.
But I love the fact that they didn't have the fact that they didn't have home court really killed them.
Yeah.
My super call.
That's what I called it on this podcast.
You did.
Somebody go back and
My super call on this podcast, which I made many times because I said it once and just stuck with it.
I love it.
Yeah.
It was a bit dumb, but I said that the Golden State Warriors would only win 2 rings with Kevin Durant. I said that so many times.
You were right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now,
Yeah, people were like, it's a wrap.
it was a bit fluky. I'll say that. A bit fluky that like KD didn't stay there, et cetera, but whatever. I'm right forever on that.
You
Cheers.
are. I like that.
Okay, let's do some NBA. Maddie, you want to give me that NBA sting?
Yeah. Can you hear it?
No.
What's going on?
Future
there we
generations
go.
of Raptor fans will always tell the story of this 2019 team, their first title in franchise history.
Okay, I'm digging these new like super positive stings.
I will never play those Kawhi stings again.
Okay, I'm excited for 10 years if the Raptors haven't won a championship. Like we just keep listening to that.
Oh no, those are-
People are like, when was that? Like, at a time when people were still denying climate
Remember
change.
this now, be happy. It's a tough league, so just be happy now.
Yes. Yes.
Seriously.
Okay, speaking of a tough league, let's go to the what I think is an extremely tough and crowded Western Conference. Let's try doing this question a little bit like we'll pick one team at a time. So I'm curious if we can kind of come to some type of consensus on which 4 Western Conference teams are going to get home court. So let's go.
Best 4 teams in the West.
Yeah, well, so let's go. And this is regular season.
Sure.
So it's about the depth and it's about kind of like injuries and da-da-da-da.
It's a very difficult question.
Less than the playoffs,
Yeah, the playoffs will
Sort of
be
thing.
like whoever your best, whoever has the best top 7 in the Western Conference, that's who's going to win.
Exactly. Yes.
And the healthiest.
Okay, so let's start with you. Pick one team, Derek, that you're like, this team's going to get home court.
The Lakers.
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 I agree. I think I've said this a couple times on the pod, but I think anyone who is, discounting LeBron James at 34 or unaware of how good Davis is about to experience those two, the best pairing in the NBA right now, in my opinion. They're about to train wreck not train wreck, sorry. Well, whatever is something they're gonna be a big tough train. How's that? That punches its way through the league. No, and I think their supporting cast is not as bad as people think.
I agree with you. I think that their team is an interesting one. If LeBron didn't get hurt last year, they probably would have snuck in and made the playoffs. And they had a weird ass team with a bunch of young guys and a coach who didn't seem like he was having any fun and wanted to be there. Whether that's LeBron's fault entirely, a little bit, not at all.
Now it's Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd.
Now
right?
they have all the head coaches.
Well, this is the thing about Frank Vogel, though, is he's going to run a completely different ship. He was known on Indiana for being pretty, not authoritarian in any way, but no nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So this is Los Angeles and the palm trees, etc., but they're going to be there to win, to be professional. So I don't think they got away with a lot of bullshit last year.
Yes.
And it seemed like it was a chaotic franchise, and I don't think that they enjoyed having that reputation.
Right.
They see themselves as the golden child of the NBA. So to be a laughing stock is something that they're going to want to, repeal, get out of there.
Yeah.
They're going to be good, man. They're going to be a lot better than they were last year. Danny Green's a good player. They can put Boogie and AD on, even putting those guys on for 25 minutes a game at the same time is threatening. Those guys are both very good. Serviceable JaVale, who was getting a ton of minutes last year. So for him not to get nearly as many, Kuzma, shooter, KCP, do whatever.
They just signed Avery Bradley.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, so they are a much better team on paper than they were last year. They might have some chemistry issues initially for sure. But in this whole thing about LeBron playing the 1 for a starting lineup is interesting to me. And I like it, but I do not see it lasting based on the fact that
I don't see it working on D.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to have Danny Green. If your backcourt is Green and LeBron, then Green's going to be guarding the quicker of the 2 players, which is even he's an older guy too. So it's not going to work defensively, but they have a much They have an interesting team, man. They're really gonna have to figure it out.
And that's what I wanted to say. So I think with the Lakers, the dynamic there is they went from like an extremely young team with like a couple veterans to like now relatively
like Anthony Davis is our youngest
much
player.
more balanced team.
Yeah, a much more balanced team with more veteran leadership. And to me, their coaching dynamic is the biggest thing I'm more interested about.
Yes.
Yeah. How does that work? Because you have 3 guys who could all be head coaches in their
who's
own
the
right.
third?
So
Vogel,
you got
Kidd.
Vogel, Kidd, and Lionel Hollins. Lionel Hollins.
I didn't know Lionel Hollins was
is
there.
on that team. So you have Jason Kidd, who wasn't that great of a coach in Brooklyn. He was all right in Milwaukee. Lionel Hollins, who was solid with the Memphis Grizzlies.
I thought Lionel Hollins was pretty good.
I thought he was a pretty good coach. And then you've got Vogel, who did a pretty decent job in Indiana, right?
Those three might strike a decent balance.
They
If they
might.
can, then they'll figure it out.
Well,
I'm just
I
waiting
imagine
for Kid to drop the drink again.
Well, I just imagine, like, I wonder if the Lakers will approach this like NFL teams do with their head coaching, which is we have one guy who's a defensive specialist, we have another guy who's an offensive specialist, and then we have one guy who kind of writes the whole ship, right? And so if that's the case, you have Jason Kidd, who's a point guard who I'm pretty sure Rajon Rondo respects very highly,
Right.
and is going to be able to kind of see things on offense that the other guys aren't seeing. And with LeBron's mind and Rajon Rondo's passing ability, I think they'll be just fine with him handling offensive situations.
Right.
Lionel Hollins, grind time, like he's known for that era. Obviously, you don't have a Tony Allen, but you've got an Avery Bradley.
And Davis is a really good
And
defender.
Davis is a really good defender in his own right.
they need to establish a second unit.
Yeah.
As dedicated, smart, efficient second unit. If they can do that, then they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because their starting lineup is good.
I would actually like to see Rondo on the bench. I don't
think he'll start.
I don't want him to be a starter.
for the same reason. Like, if you maybe LeBron's like the nominal point guard, but then on defense, Bradley's guarding.
Well, and also I just think the second unit for Boogie would run so much smoother with Rondo. He'll feel much more comfortable, be able to get into a rhythm. He'll be able to be fed properly and initiate himself offensively. Because the thing is, as low risk a signing as you want to say this is, because he signed for like $3 million or whatever the case may be, I still think Boogie's got some gas in the tank. Maybe he's not.
Oh, me too.
Like maybe
I don't think he's
not
gonna get back to what he was, but he's still going to be like, what is he, 27, 28?
Yeah, like I still think he's going to be pretty serviceable. Maybe he's not that great on defense, but it's not like he's going to be guarding Pascal Siakam every night.
They might have load management issues because those Davis, LeBron,
LeBron
Cousins,
needs to
Rondo,
not get injured.
Those guys are not going to. LeBron will play 82 if he can, but like a lot of those guys aren't going to play 82. No. So the games where those guys aren't playing, if they're injured or whatever, they're going to need to win with not stars in the West. So that's the one thing that I think that could hurt them is minutes, is getting their stars on the court for the right amount of time.
It could, but I mean, if the game isn't even close, then what does it matter, right?
That's
like
true.
We watched the whole season where LeBron literally with Miami just rested most fourth quarters because he didn't have to play. It was never even close.
So wait, we do all agree on the Lakers.
I agree.
Right?
The Lakers will be there.
They might be fourth, but
I think they'll be second.
You think so?
I think they'll be second.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So who's your this team's getting home court for sure?
It's very difficult to say. I think that people are discounting it. I really do want to say Golden State, but he's not going to be back in time.
Clay.
No, he won't be back in time. He'll be back after Christmas, right? Kind of January.
They're saying like February, in the most optimistic sense.
If he's playing next year in October, then they're a no-brainer because their team is still good. They still are a very good team. D'Angelo's a weird one for them, but if I say I have to get to it, the Clippers will be a top 4 team.
Yeah.
The Clippers will be a top 4 team.
Yeah, I think they should be. Although it's gone a bit underreported that George isn't going to be ready for the start of the season and had 2 shoulder injuries.
two. I thought it was just one torn.
No, it was actually 2. So
wow.
He had the one shoulder surgery and then he had the second shoulder surgery
on the same shoulder.
Kawhi doesn't seem that healthy. Beverly's not that healthy.
Yeah,
Montrezl Harrell's never been a starter. I think they're going to have depth and load management issues.
Will too, but
I think once the playoff starts, it's going to be like, oh shit, is this game over? But I do think, we'll see. But like, I think that their like complementary talent, they're like kind of like role players and that sort of thing, are getting bumped up a bit too high.
Yes,
like Lou Williams made some big strides and he became a better passer last year, and obviously the Golden State series was amazing. but he's not that different from the Lou Williams of old that can't do anything without the ball.
Where did they finish last year?
Last year they finished in 8th. And Gallinari was a big part of that. Harris was a big part of that.
Yeah. Gallinari was hurt though too.
He's always hurt though.
Yeah.
But he had his healthiest year last year.
Yes.
For the Clippers.
Yes.
So I think the only reason I'm going to agree with the Clippers being in there is because I feel like I must have some like blindsided, like I hope they don't. Because I do understand that just
defensively they'll be insane.
Yeah,
Get it locked in.
just Bradley,
Doc can do
Lou
it right.
Williams, Kawhi, George, Montrezl Harrell is like
pretty
absurd.
Let's put it
It's
this
an
way: like
interesting team.
it would not surprise me if both LA teams were like 10-10 to start the season.
See, and I think that's enough to not get home court.
It is enough
in the
to,
West.
It is enough to not get home court, but I think
Like
they're
you can't
good.
hit a
yeah.
blip.
You can't hit a blip, but I think they're good enough to manage it just because of like the West legitimately has 9 or 10 teams that could all qualify.
Yeah,
Like,
okay. Are you ready for my team?
55 plus
So
wins, right?
we both agree, although me a bit begrudgingly on the Clippers.
Same.
Now,
I will say this. I think this might be a hot take, but I think the Clippers are a little bit overrated.
Me too.
I think
that's where I'm coming from.
I think like Kawhi, you cannot take anything away from Kawhi's talent,
Totally agree.
PG's talent, but we're doing the same thing with the Lakers and the Clippers. I think we are
Beverly and Lou particularly.
We're boosting their ability because of how well that team meshed and played against
Yes.
Golden State in round 1. They still lost.
Yes.
Right? You cannot have Patrick Beverly guarding your best player. That won't
Patrick
happen.
Beverly can't pass the ball or dribble.
He can shoot better than Rondo, but
he can shoot.
I'd take Rondo over Patrick Beverly.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds.
Okay, so I'm wondering if this is going to be the first like major disagreement, but I think there's just nothing on their team that's not improving since last year. I think there's no way the Denver Nuggets are not top 4 in the West.
Yeah,
I think they're third. Yeah.
Another year of Jokic, another year of Murray. Maybe Millsap gets injured or something like that, but they're just stacked. Like I think they're gonna like be first in the West.
They're
like,
very good,
and I think like they're the perfect example of like at the biggest burn you could throw their way is they're a regular season team.
Well,
but that's the question I'm asking. Like I'm not talking about the playoffs.
Jokic is one of these stars like Kawhi, where because he's
incredible.
He doesn't have a. It seems like he's a normal enough dude, but he doesn't have a magnanimous personality. He kind of gets sort of slept on a little bit, and kind of gets. I mean, he has amazing games. He plays well. He runs their offense incredibly well. Jamal Murray's just gonna. You think Jamal Murray right now somewhere is shooting threes in a gym?
Oh yeah. With his dad.
Yeah,
doing
Jamal Murray. Jamal
For
Murray
sure.
will,
And it's somewhere where there's ice.
he will get better. He's already very good, but I think he'll come out this year as an elite shooter. He's amazing, and I don't know. I think that it's so besetting with Michael Porter though, Jr. Is it Michael Porter?
Yeah, Michael Porter. Yeah.
What happened to him?
He sprained his knee or something, right?
and
But he'll be okay.
He'll be playing this year, but that guy, man, I really hope he doesn't. Speaking of Jabari Parker, right?
Yeah.
If he looked amazing in his high school tape, but then his back and now his knee, fuck, man, if he can get it together, he's a great player.
Well, that's the thing. I think Denver is still an incredibly good squad, despite not having their top prospect.
I know.
Like that's the scary part.
Denver's fantastic, man.
Like they don't even have to rush him. Like they are good enough that they don't need him to come back right away. They don't need to rush his development. But if he gives you anything, if he is even 80% of what you thought he was going to be when you drafted him, back issues and all, knee sprain and all, I don't know how they don't finish second or third in the West. Like that team going forward is going to be incredibly good because they've got a great young core. And if Jokic could just get like a little more leaner and athletic, like he's solid. Like he's already weirdly really good, even though he's built like a bag of milk. Like it's crazy.
Like a bag of milk. That's such a Canadian specific joke too. I'm into it. Okay, wait, yeah, just because I feel like we gotta probably pick up the pace and get to the quickish questions.
Yes.
First, We have some fun breaking news that Derek just showed me on the phone, but let's just see.
We still need one more team.
Yeah, we got to pick this last team. So It's on you, Derek. Let's see if this is like a total split in opinion.
I think this might be a split, but I'm saying the Jazz.
Okay, me too.
I got the Jazz finishing 4th.
Okay. I guess maybe it's not that unclear. Are you also? I think the Jazz, they're just so stacked. Like
their team looks really good.
There's just no weaknesses anywhere.
The way that their starting lineup is set out with arguably the best sort of big man in the league, defensive player of the year, and then you've got shooting on the outside with Ingles and is Bogdanovich, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Mitchell, who Connolly takes all the pressure off him. If you look at it, if you look at how basketball flows, the game flows, their starting 5 is very good. They can beat a lot of teams in different ways. Gobert can do a good job of not letting other dynamic guards in the West get to the rim.
Yep.
Lillard, Westbrook, etc. And their division is, not like I don't know. I like Utah, but because they were close last year, I just want to agree based on the fact that I like their team. But if I had to pick another team, I would pick Dallas if Kristaps stays healthy.
Whoa, home court.
Wow.
I'm like playoffs, hopefully.
I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think Dallas is going to make the playoffs.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Whoa.
Really?
I don't think Dallas is going to make the playoffs.
Ooh, I love this.
No, man, they're going to be good. Dude, if Kristaps is healthy,
team is like,
he's good, man. He was a good player in New York, and Luka is going to be good this year.
The key word is he was, right? And there's still a lot of off-court issues that he's dealing with as far as the sexual assault allegation. And it's hard to discount it's hard to discount the off-court stuff that may impact you on the court, right? Like, not everybody's Kobe Bryant. Not everybody can beat the case on the court.
Yeah, no.
So, it hinges a lot on, where his mental is at and also where his rehab is at, right? Like, we had so many conflicting reports coming out of the Knicks camp about his health. The fact that Fizdale was saying one thing and then literally an hour later you see a video that he posts of him running and doing drills.
The Knicks are a broken franchise.
They are,
and Dallas is one of the most professional ones out there.
They're all right, but I mean,
they did have the scandal with Cuban.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues.
Lots of scandals, but
everybody's got scandals, which is not basketball related per se. But I still think it impacts your organization as a whole. However, I think if you're hinging all of Dallas's bets on Kristaps Porzingis being healthy, we haven't seen him play in over a year and a half. We don't know what he is. We just remember
did he have an ACL or did he have a foot?
It was ACL. It was an ACL, which you can come back from. Lots of guys have come back.
Knees are better than ever.
It's actually
he doesn't need to drive and dunk like he did before. He's got Luka doing that.
This is true.
He can literally just pick and roll 3 all day long. Him and Luka. They have Tim Hardaway Jr. They've got. I
also am a big fan of Carlisle.
Yeah.
No, he's a great coach.
And they've got
great coach.
They've got Wright. They've got Justin Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, they're not a bad team, man. They got Barea still. Like, they're not
Powell.
bad. And they got Powell. And they got Boban too, man.
Oh my God.
They're not they made some moves. They can have crazy different lineups. They can have like 2 giant dudes out there with, like, I don't know. I like Dallas. I don't know.
They're not a bad team, but
I had some other questions lined up here, but we got to get to Quickish questions. And I feel like it's just fun to have breaking news. And since we're talking about the Knicks,
I don't even know what the breaking news is.
Derek just showed it to me on his phone. This is a fun one.
So this is a report from Woj. Free agent Marcus Morris, who committed initially to a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Spurs with a player option, is now reconsidering his agreement. He's now considering a free agent deal with the New York Knicks, who's going to have additional cap space because they're already reworking a deal that they made initially with Reggie Bullock.
Oh, so it's like a more money scenario?
No. So maybe Morris is going to get more money because Bullock's taking less or they're restructuring it in some way. But, I mean, that's a blow to the Spurs, I think.
Huge blow.
Like they've got a good squad. Don't get me wrong. But they're going to be one of those teams, like I how I feel with Dallas, are going to be fighting for
I think the
6,
Spurs
7, 8.
I think the Spurs are in tough to make the playoffs this year.
Wow. For the first time in 2 decades.
I'll never rule them out. I say Spurs probably in 8th because you just can't rule out the Spurs.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've got how I think is going to go my top 8 is the Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, Jazz, Warriors, Rockets, Blazers, and then it's a toss up between the Spurs, Mavericks, Kings, and maybe the Wolves and the Pelicans for that last spot.
The Pelicans, I think, will be really fun this year.
They're not going to make it in the playoffs, though, I don't think. They'll finish like in 9th or 10th, maybe.
Matt, you got anything to add with the powerhouses in the West before we go to quickish questions, or what?
Well, just one thing. Like, well, what Lakers and the Clippers in the playoffs? So what does that look like at Staples? Who's the home team?
There is none. It's great.
I think basically it's
Is it
just going to be
Lakers?
Lakers fans.
There's going to be home and homes.
I think Clippers are up for like a super like rude awakening that even though they have a good team, it's never going to be their town.
I think the most interesting thing is how to, I guess it's the season tickets thing. It'll be when it's Clippers home games, it'll be probably more Clippers fans just because the season ticket
of course
holders will go to those games.
I'm stealing this joke from a buddy, but like Bomber strategy for when it's like Clippers home games is he's just gonna buy out the whole stadium and he is gonna like sit in the front row. It's gonna be empty. That's funny.
And Clipper Darryl by himself.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's gonna be him, Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
Couple other notables.
Listen, they got celebrities too, all right? Not everybody can have Drake. Even as corny as he is, I'll take Drake over Billy Crystal any day.
Any day.
Billy
oh my God.
Crystal
Any day.
on the line.
And by the way, if you're looking for a funny time, check out Drake talking about his curse and talking about Clay on his Insta stories. It's pretty good. He keeps saying that basically when he sees
Clay wakeboarding with his Quicksilver shorts.
Yes.
He's gonna see him.
Okay, let's do some quickish questions. Maddie, you want to give me that quickish question sting?
Quickish question. Bobby Webster.
He's always got to play the Alvin and the Chipmunks paging Bobby Webster. It's a pretty weird one, but I think it's gonna
deep cuts.
Deep cuts. Yeah, only deep cuts here. Okay, so Derek, this is gonna be your first time doing the quickish questions.
Yes.
It's basically trying to understand whatever stuttery, convoluted question I ask.
Oh, okay.
And answer it as quick as possible.
All right.
So no commas, no phoning a friend. Here we go. I'm going to start with you.
I was about to say, do I get a lifeline? But
no lifeline.
Okay.
It's like the answers can be wrong. You just got to.
All right.
Okay. What free agent would you target for the Raptors to fill out the roster?
Marcus Morris.
Great answer. Ian. What would you have given up in order to acquire Paul George?
I don't think I would have given up. I didn't like the picks that they wanted, so I wouldn't have given up anything. I don't think that we would have had to sacrifice too much for him to come, and then he would have just left anyway.
Roger that. Matt.
Yeah.
What is Kawhi's basketball / non-basketball IQ?
Like the number?
Yeah. We're looking for a number here, buddy.
Okay, well, his non-basketball IQ, I'm going to give him, what was the Forrest Gump level? He's
Oh, really? You
I
think he's
smart.
like... No, I think he's...
no, he's
yeah.
smart. He's smart. I think he's Mensa on both accounts.
That's
Nice.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Derek, back to you. Which Raptor will be our most improved player next year?
OG.
Ian. What moment from the playoffs has left the most lasting impression?
Other than the second turning off the clock where they won, definitely that shot. I was freaking out and screaming and throwing shit around. I couldn't believe it.
Yes. Matt.
Yes.
After a wild offseason, which non-Raptors team are you most excited to see play this year?
I would say I'm kind of excited to see the Lakers show. Gotta say.
Okay, Lake Show.
Show.
Okay, Derek, this is kind of a fun one. So rank by minutes played next season.
All right.
OG, Powell, Fred, Rondé, Serge, Stanley.
Ooh, okay. I feel like I need to see like a map of these names. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I got by minutes played, like most.
Yes.
Like at the top. I'm going to say Fred VanVleet, Serge Ibaka, OG, Norman Powell, Rondé, Stanley.
I think you nailed that. Okay, Ian. I think this is your last question.
Okay.
Which team that loaded up this offseason is going to disappoint the most?
Strangest thing is that it could actually be the Lakers. I don't think it will be, but of all the drama there and the weirdness that's been going on, it could be them. I don't think it will be, but it could be.
Fair. Matt,
Yeah.
who has the most pressure to step up? Outside of Giannis, what other max player do you see? Oh, sorry, there's two questions. I'll just split up. Who has the most pressure to step up for the Raptors?
For the Raptors, I'm gonna say the pressure's on OG. Really, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him right now to be like, oh, but we've got OG. It's like, okay, well, pressure's on, pal.
Okay.
Hope you've been studying Kawhi last season, like he said he was.
Yeah, that's kind of hilarious that he said that. And
Yeah.
I love that Norm was also like, I'm excited to lock Kawhi up. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, Norm. Like, you won't, but that's fun.
He'll lock you up.
Yeah, he'll lock you up. But okay, so Derek, outside of Giannis, what other max player do you see in the 2021 free agent class fitting in next to Siakam, OG, FVV?
Man, that's a tough one. Who are some of the free agents in that class? Like, there's a lot of old guys that are expiring, like Chris Paul. And,
there's a lot of old guys that are expiring. So wait, the 2021, that's 2 summers, right?
yeah.
So I believe Towns, if he's like pressuring his way out, could potentially be available. It's kind of tough because there's a lot of players that are like they have the team options, player options.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Matt. Fair enough. Fair enough. I say then, Derek, just take a guess.
Okay.
Matt just kind of schooled me. That's on me.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. Yeah, that's actually a great one because he could for sure do like, I'm just going to do a 1-on-1. I'm unsure about LeBron. Cool. I think that takes us to the end of the pod.
Sweet.
Yeah, harsh cut on the sound there.
Harsh cut.
Derek, thanks so much for doing the pod.
Thank you for having me. Derek, aka Kevin.
Oh my God. Yeah. How dare me? And then Ian, is in his brain.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
So is there anything coming up you might want to plug? Anything at CBC or maybe it's got to be low key.
I mean, there's a couple things that are in the works at the moment. But I'll just say, keep listening to this podcast, to Confederacy of Dunks. Keep listening to Metro Morning. Keep supporting your public broadcaster.
You're darn
Yes.
right. I like
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Ian, what's up? You got any shows coming up?
I've got shows all the time throughout the city, but if you want, you can follow me on Instagram at shirt_Gordon if you feel like it.
Yeah, every time I go to tag you in this podcast, I'm like, what the hell is Ian's thing?
Sorry.
And then I'm like, no, I should know it because this happened about 40
and
times.
then to add to that, follow me on Twitter as well at KD, like Kevin Durant, or Kraft Dinner Dion, not like Celine Dion, but DEON. Find me on Twitter. Hit me up.
you can read his last name, which is phonetic and easy to pronounce, and the K for sure doesn't stand for Kevin.
Kevin.
So
His name's not Kevin.
Yeah.
It's not Kevin, unless I'm home alone. Then it's all.
well, thanks so much for everyone who listens to this podcast in general. We've been getting a lot of love in the playoffs, and last year was wild, but this year's gonna be wild too. Just like not Kawhi wild, like different type wild.
Yeah, man.
I thought about it through the year about this moment where I have to say that season 6 of our podcast is officially the Kawhi Leonard season.
That's right. Yeah,
It is a time capsule.
666.
You can go back and the ups and downs.
true.
I mean, the ups and ups. We really
And also
had
just a shout out and a huge congrats to Sean Woodley and Alex Wong.
Yes,
when
big
Sean was
time.
on the pod, he plugged his book, We the Champions, and it's a bestseller. It's a bestseller in Canada.
yes.
So
Huge.
that is absolutely massive. So cool. Very, very hardworking guy. And, for anyone who listened to the podcast last week, he obviously super duper knows his shit.
Yeah.
So anyways, good vibes all around. Point Siakam is the future. And thanks for doing the pod and thanks for listening to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
See you
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.